everybody. Welcome to the season 2 of Idea to Investment, where we help business leaders in life sciences, medtech, and healthcare tech turn their innovation into successful startups. We are your co hosts. I'm Dr. Nadia Boutawi and Dr. Markesia Pierce. Hi, Markesia.
Hi, Nadia. How's it going?
It's good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to continue our conversations. I love our conversations.
That's awesome. Yeah, and today's episode, we thought we will start with the cornerstone of companies, the value of talent development in tech commercialization. Why is it important to know yourself? What's the role of the regional ecosystem in talent development? And why is it important both to investors and to business leaders alike? So, Markesia, let's give our audience a very brief introduction for the people who don't know us. You go ahead.
Sure. So if you're tuning in or hearing my voice for the very first time, I have a life science background, scientist in training, PhD in molecular physiology and biophysics. I loved being in the lab. Only when I was around other people who would challenge my ideas, and help me think about how I could take the project that I was working out outside. And so I spent a lot of my time thinking about how do you move tech outside of the lab, and actually was able to do that with my postdoc, working on a small molecule therapeutic. And the whole goal of that particular postdoc was being able to not only contribute to the science part, but start a company around it, be able to share that tech story and turn it into a business story so that either internal grants or external grants, committees would be able to see the value of it and invest in our project, whether that was with the team or with financial top financial mechanisms.
Yeah.
So we did grants, we did SBIR grants, we did investor presentations, and we were able to move that tech and outside of the university, and it was acquired by a larger pharmaceutical company. And ever since then, I've been in ecosystems helping other entrepreneurs that maybe have an academic bent to them as well, do the same type of thing and move the tech out into the real world. So worked as a life science consultant, and ran a couple of different accelerators as well to see how we can really get momentum behind some of these innovations that are great innovations, but they need to be out to impact real life people.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, and I'm Dr. Nadia Boutawi, PhD in genetics, in plant genetics, and then I pivoted to human genetics. Did a postdoc at the Harvard University, led a research lab for close to 10 years at the University of Pittsburgh. And I saw firsthand that we're making great discoveries in asthma in kids, yet two of my kids had asthma and there wasn't enough drugs to treat them. So that took me on a path on, similar to yours, translate those discoveries to move them closer to the bedside or to the market. I did tech innovation and entrepreneurship certification. It wasn't enough for me. I followed it with an executive MBA in healthcare. And also I've been on the EIR, executive in residence route, a consultant for business strategy, go-to-market, growth strategies for healthcare tech companies. I started a membership community called Entrepreneurs in Healthcare, Wellness, and Tech. And I'm working on another one on how to leverage innovation for business growth. It's called AI Business for Business Growth. So that's what motivated me. The result of moving tech from the lab to the market was NanoNairs, which is a startup that develops preclinical tools. So we have better predictions for drugs that are more likely to work in humans before we get to human. So again, I'm being on the research side, on the business side, and between the two of us, I think we are in a great position to help both business leaders and investors with moving their technologies to the market to make a big impact globally. So Welcome to the show. Today's show is about talent. We know it's the cornerstone for any business. So take it away, Marquisia. What are where do you start? If you're new to this, what do you need to know?
So I like this conversation because, as you set up in the intro, there's really three different parts to talent development when you're thinking about uh, the uh, how you can build a strong workforce talent in either your company and in your region, and why being able to invest in talent should be top of mind.
Yeah.
If you're just starting out, the easiest place to maybe draw some parallels is the company itself. So being able to look and take the cover off, and like if we're
Yeah.
building a company from scratch, how do we put together people and either strategic partnerships or team members in place to move this innovation forward. And so a lot of people, they're thinking of the co-founder, they're thinking the founder, the co-founder, they're thinking of the tech development team, the product development team, and if you're already at the point where you're selling something, you need a sales and marketing team. And just intuitively, we know that all of these different roles have complementary parts and they have complementary strengths that build on each other.
Yeah.
When you start getting over to the life sciences and in the the conversation of what happens when you build up a startup company, where it's probably around an innovation that a scientist or an entrepreneur, an engineer is kind of thinking on. They might have proven some parts of it in the lab. You
Yeah.
already have a good piece of the technical part of the team. Um, but complementary to that, especially if it starts out in academia,
Yeah.
you need to complement that technical skill with commercialization know-how and business
Yeah.
know-how. And when you first start thinking about that, you have to change the way you think about how you approach the project. In the
Yeah.
academic sense, academic is very we're going to have these experiments and we're going to
Replicate.
project for
Yeah.
exploratory sake. We like
Yeah.
this. No, isn't this an interesting problem that we could get some more
So,
information around? However, when you're trying to move that over to commercialization, you have very limited time, very limited resources. Let's
resources. Yeah.
let's highlight the experiments and processes that will move the needle around proof of concept and milestones that other people outside of the team would be able to build upon. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah. So
so
you're more moving from I need X amount to replicate the rigorousness of the academic side to what would be the minimal viable product that I can take me to the next stage and it's
exactly,
still valid. So the mindset there are different. I like the point you made about, the what would be your need to move it to the market. In many cases, it's the sales part. If you're a small team and you're still, you know, don't have the resources, the chances are the founding members are going to be the ones who do the sales, the ones who do the outreach, the partnerships. So that skill set, you may not have it or may not afford to have it yet, maybe consider developing those skill sets internally. Chances are before you can afford a sales team, you are the salesperson as a founder or CEO. And you need to sell through stories. You need to, motivate your team to make progress. You need to share your vision with others to attract talent to your company.
exactly.
Talking about attracting talent,
And
where does the ecosystem fall into this?
so, in my experience, when you're working with a startup team,
Mhm.
particularly in academia, your first external or your first teammates that come to the table are your postdocs,
Yeah.
who might have more of a business bent to them, and they want
Mhm.
to do the journey with you of trying to commercialize this tech. And then you have maybe outside support system in the sense of a maybe a mentor, advisor, entrepreneur
Yeah.
in residence that could be brought onto the team because of your academic institution or a regional ecosystem that says, hey, we see the potential in this tech. We're going to support the tech leader with a consultant that can help, as you kind of talked about, transition into that commercialization part. Um, when you start thinking about the postdocs and the EIR community, one, the postdoc may or may not have that initial commercialization foundation. So a concerted and intentional effort around having formalized and informalized communication or support for postdocs that are transitioning tech outside of the lab is key. I was fortunate with my postdoc. That was the goal. It was to not only advance the science, but a big part of what I was able to bring to the team as a postdoc was being able to talk about the commercialization plan, put together a strategy in which you can share what those milestones are to the broader ecosystem, whether it's the grant writer, the SBIR, internal grant, and sometimes postdocs don't have a formalized way of learning what those steps are in place. Complementary people onto the team, like a entrepreneur in residence or an executive in residence, can bring that to the team. And I believe that they should work they should work together in terms of, not only are you developing this tech, but you're developing this skill set that is
Yeah.
very specific. Chances are the postdoc will go on to another company. Hopefully, they go to that company and bring it up together. But they may move around to other companies in the region, someplace else. Same with the EIRs, taking that talent, that skill set that they were able to talk through the different steps of what needs to be done. That's a skill set that has has less resources around it, less of a tribe around it, less of a support system than the traditional academic. Here's how I can work through the academic process.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned earlier that there are a lot of
I, yeah,
examples.
that made me think of one model that I look up to in terms of, the translation of breakthrough technologies to the market. The lab that comes to mind is Robert Langer from MIT. And early on, for the people who don't know him, he's licensed or started over 400 companies. He's one of the most cited engineers in the history of science. And his model before was the licensing part, where they have technologies, they IP it, and then they license it. And they found that a lot of those licensed technologies didn't make it into the product that can help the people they want to help. So they pivoted into, as you mentioned, talent pool, the postdocs, the researchers, the PhD students that were involved in developing those technologies. They put a team around them, and they will take a leadership position within those startups. They will bring in business talent. They will bring in the funding part, and they will grow along with those companies. And that's how they increased the conversion per se of their breakthrough technologies into thriving startups. One of them is Moderna, the one who developed the mRNA vaccines. It started in his lab along with over hundreds of companies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that model works, and it's because they knew how important to not only attract but grow and retain talent. And when they attract, postdocs or PhD students, they know this is a path for you, and you will have the support to grow into that journey if you choose to.
Right. Med tech development, life sciences, it really depends on it really falls back on their ecosystem. you will. It's not uncommon that postdocs, EIRs, kind of go from company to company, bringing the skill sets that they've
Yeah,
learned, the mistakes along the way that they've
yeah,
learned from previous experiments.
yeah,
Um, being able to invest in the glue that holds these startup companies together in a
mhm,
regional form is one of the best ways to kind of lift the capability of all the startups in the region. Uh,
exactly. And it also helps with the deal flow, attracting the financing side of supporting those companies. And it's critical to know, to have a snapshot of how is your talent pool internally or regionally, so you know what you need before to get to the next stage.
mhm,
And that takes us to the investors side.
yeah,
Why should they care about talent? Because they can help you. It's more than just money. They
right.
can help you determine what is the blind spots, what are the gaps they can bring in to help you get to the next stage. I love your example about it's not a journey, it's more like islands. You're in the pre-seed island, and then you're in the seed island, then the series A and so on. And they help you navigate how to get from one island to another. And you need the right talent to get to those milestones.
Right. So, yeah, a lot of people sometimes when they're first raising capital,
Mm-hmm.
they're thinking, well, I need to have these things done. It would
Mm-hmm.
be good to develop this particular aspect of it, but I love what um, the community has kind of termed, this milestone based approach where
Mm-hmm.
you are working towards that particular milestone. And when it comes to funding, you have to have all the funding kind of in one big goal to fuel the gas tank so that when you get to that milestone you already know, like, if I can achieve these particular things, I'm able to raise that next round of funding. So when you talk about the different gaps and what
Mm-hmm.
can be done along the way, you're at that point you're trying to, as you're building the engine and you have this finite amount of money that you have raised,
Yeah.
trying to bring in all the partnerships that can make that dollar go further,
Mm-hmm.
because as y'all know, it takes a lot more time and a lot more money to get to that particular milestone. And so, what the investor community can do, and what they pride themselves on being able to offer instead of just the money, is if you have this part of your
Mm-hmm.
journey where um, you need a lifeline in terms of talent. They have
Yeah.
this resource, they have this bench, they have this network that they can call to plug that into. And if you're in a region where that EIR, that executive and resident community is strong, they're sharing their ideas, they're
Yeah.
sharing their ups and downs. Oh, the network can go, I know who's been through this similar type of spot.
Before.
Let me go
Mm-hmm.
call this person, and share how did they navigate this? How can we build up a partnership around this? But if you're all in silos and you don't necessarily know what the team has
Mm-hmm.
gone through or the community has gone through, not in a competition type of way or competitive way,
Yeah.
but in let's get the community around this, to move this technology forward. You can tap into that a lot easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
And that brings me to what's called the team market fit. A lot of we see in startups and entrepreneurship, a lot of people talk about the product market fit as like the gold standard. Once you hit that, you've reached the gold, the pot of gold.
mhm,
I was surprised when I did the summer university at the YC Combinator. They prioritize team market fit more than the technology or the product market fit. When you think about it, chances are the market is very dynamic. The problems are going to change. The pain points are going to change. Do you have the tech evolves so fast?
Yep.
Do you have the right team that can pivot and adjust to these market conditions? Do you have the right talent that you can lead in your area of expertise? So I really believe that having a strong team and a good understanding at the leadership level, who do you work best with? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So you can complement your weaknesses. We're not perfect. You should be not the smartest person in the room. You should be surrounded with other people smarter than you. And you won't know until you understand at a deeper level what you do best and what you need to complement. And that's why talent is super important, especially early on for startups.
Do you have a story about where you've been able to witness
The team market fit?
you just working well?
I do. I was fortunate like to be in, teams that are high performance teams. It
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily within on the startup side, but in Harvard Med School, the lab was set up almost as a company, but it's within academic setting. It's not one PI has their own lab. It's the whole division that has one very large lab that is subdivided into different sections: the genomics, the lab, the blood processing, the biobanking, and so on. And each person has a very clear um, vision of what the whole lab is about, what the whole division is about personalized medicine in respiratory diseases. So there's COPD, there's asthma, and what have you. And then each person is an expert in their niche,
Hmm.
but it falls within the big picture of that vision, that North Star. And they complement each other beautifully. For instance, I was on the genomics platforms and I would work with bioinformaticians who would build the pipelines for epigenetic screens, which was in 2006 really new. And they will build a pipeline for data cleaning, for analysis, and so on. The physicians will be the ones doing the analysis part and the patient facing component. And it really worked when you have complementary talent and a very clear vision and the right leadership. The productivity is through the roof.
Hmm.
Do you have an example to share yourself?
Um, yes. So I think one part where I was able to be on a team that was able to deliver very well. The small business development team, uh, the small business development center has a life science, or excuse me, has a high growth tech team
Mhm.
where the people on the team have complementary expertise. We would have somebody who was an expert in the life science realm. We had somebody who was an expert in agriculture, manufacturing, marketing. If you were trying to get an SBIR up and going, we had somebody who was dedicated to just looking over those particular proposals. Um, uh, and a lot of times when we would talk to the clients, we would tag team. So at the particular stage where the client was, they might
Yeah.
be getting ready for a pitch competition, and they need to get their financial story together. So we'd have somebody who could walk them through the
Mhm.
financial model, and they would be in the same meeting with the person who was an expert in marketing. And so
Mhm.
being able to
Yeah.
hear exactly what the client was saying, what was needed in
Yeah.
having a sound financial structure or
Mhm.
story, and then craft it together in a pitch so that they can get to that next level. Uh,
Yeah.
I think being able to, as you said, celebrate and make space for complementary types of
Skill
skills
sets.
uh,
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah, it really does. And it's almost like pieces of a puzzle. By itself, it doesn't give you the big picture, but if you put them in the right order at the right time, with the clear vision where you're going, and more importantly, which I think a lot of people miss, appreciate what people do. It goes a long way. When you find the right, it's. I think we are in a talent pool war where when you find the right talent, take care of them,
Hmm.
have a path of development for them, a growth path for them, and a retention, some sort of retention, um, program, because it costs more, like almost like 10 times more to let if you lose talent, when you factor in how long it takes to find the right fit and then to train them and to get up to speed. So if you're a business leader and you're listening to this, have some sort of retention, whether for, it's not necessarily monetary. It's what they need, what's called in business balance, what they value. Somebody may value the monetary compensations, others could be the benefits, others it could be the flexibility or the hybrid model where they can work from home slash in office. So think about those factors so you can retain and grow talent, because that's the biggest asset you have in your company.
Right. And then kind of looking outside of what the ecosystem and what accelerators and investors are able to provide to the company. Um, I, I kind of revert back to or refer back to how I ran the medtech startup this last cohort. Um, yes, we had a framework of what were some of the skills and what were some of the themes that we wanted to run through for all of the companies.
Yep.
But there's also a iteration process, a customization of every single one of those. So it emphasized just in time information, which just means that I'm listening to what you are needing at this particular time, and I'm going to set up within the program a way for you to get the exact contact person that you need. So if you're at this particular time going through contract manufacturing and you don't have the next steps, I'm in our one-on-one session or our weekly session where we lay out just a framework of what this looks like in the space. If you're
Yeah.
thinking, if the founder is thinking, oh, I I didn't know I needed to do this. I didn't know I needed to have this particular
Yeah.
place. They're able to vocalize it. They're able to say it. And the next time we meet, I say, okay, this is the person that you need to talk to.
Yeah.
If you need to kind of flesh out the story, here's the person that you need to talk to. Let's meet
Mhm.
in another 2 weeks. I introduce you. You kind of
Yeah.
get that check mark checked off, and how do we incorporate it so that you have some action
Yeah.
behind what we're doing. Um,
That's awesome. That is awesome. I can talk about this for forever, about teams and leadership and talent development. Um, that's been a treat to start this season 2 with you, Marquisia, and I look forward to more conversations in upcoming episodes. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will stream this audio and have questions, take questions from the audience, bring them up on stage, and answer your questions that are related to talent development and why are they it's important for tech commercialization. Any final words, Marquisia?
um, I just want to say, it absolutely does take a village. Being able to look at these hard, big goals and problems in an abundance mindset where it's a little less competitive. There's room for a lot of different ideas to be in the space. Working collaboratively is key.
That's awesome. For the audience who just caught up with us later, this episode was about the value of talent development in tech commercialization. In our show, Idea to Investment, where we help business leaders and life science and medtech companies turn their life science innovations into a successful startup. What we covered today was why is it important to know yourself, why is critical to know your ecosystem, and how you can leverage that for growth, as well as why is talent development important both to investors and business leaders alike. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.
Bye.